You're listening to the Free to Be Mindful podcast, which provides bite-sized tips for busy parents, educators, and anyone working with kids. These real talk conversations focus on mindful living, mental health, and personal growth, helping all to learn, grow, and inspire with mindfulness in mind. I'm your host, Vanessa de Jesus Guzman, educator, licensed professional counselor, entrepreneur, and mom. I'm passionate about helping folks live life with peace of mind and ease of heart while not losing their, well, you know, here we go. Have you ever tried to practice meditation but have no idea if it's working or even if you're doing it right? Wouldn't it be awesome if there was something to let you know when you're in the zone, to let you know to do more of that? Well, there is something that does exactly that. It's called Muse. Muse is a brain sensing headband that helps you find more calm, sharper focus, and better sleep. It does this by measuring your brain waves and lets you know exactly when you're in a meditative state. It's an awesome tool for kids and for adults alike. You can get 15% off any Muse product by clicking the link in the show notes below. Check them out at choosemuse.com. And again, don't forget to use that link for 15% discount at checkout. Hi, and welcome back. I hope that you're feeling good, looking good, and doing better in this world than you were yesterday. So today, May 24th, is actually Free to Be Mindful's second birthday. So my little business, Free to Be Mindful, which is actually physically located in Ridgefield, New Jersey, but obviously reaches folks worldwide, is today. And I am so happy, and I wanted to take a moment to celebrate this birthday with you. So throughout the course of the podcast so far, you have kind of learned a little bit about me and what I'm all about. And I wanted to share a little bit more with you today, just in case this is the very first episode that you are catching. So my name is Vanessa de Jesus Guzman, and I started my career off as a second grade teacher, then moved to become a middle school counselor, and am now a licensed therapist. I'm the CEO and owner of Free to Be Mindful, which is this office right here. If you're watching me on YouTube, you actually get to see my office. And it is located, as I mentioned, in Ridgefield, New Jersey, which is in Bergen County. So I offer individual and group therapy to kids and to mothers and educators that are New Jersey residents. And that's a big thing in the state of New Jersey. And with my licensure, I'm only available to offer therapeutic services to New Jersey residents. However, there's a lot more that I also offer. So in addition to that, I also offer professional development to schools and organizations and businesses, and that can be worldwide. They usually focus on mindfulness, of course, on mindset, on strengthening the parent-child relationship, strengthening the teacher-student relationship. I have done things on trauma and on racial identity, social emotional learning, and so on. I'm also creating a parenting course called Blueprint to Mindful Parenting. More details on that to come. I'm also the founder of Amiga Moms, which is a social network specifically provided to Latina mothers, where we hold in-person networking and social events, which has been on hold because of the pandemic, but more events are coming soon. And I'm the host of the Free to Be Mindful podcast. And finally, I am the co-creator of Mindfulness with People of Color, where we see you because we are you. Right now, we focus on providing guided meditations on Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Clubhouse. And we are having a mini retreat on Saturday, July 17th, again, focused on mindfulness. So I have a lot of hats that I wear, but most importantly, overall, is the hat of being a mom and a wife. So, I wanted to share a little bit more about myself and really on what mindfulness is. We've had a lot of conversation throughout the course of this podcast on how you can integrate mindful living and mindful parenting and social emotional learning within either a home or school setting. But I haven't ever broken down truly what is mindfulness and what are its benefits. Now, I provide like hour and a half, 2 hour trainings on this, so we can't get into everything. I'm just going to give you a short snippet. So, I defined mindfulness as paying attention to the right here and right now with kindness and with curiosity. That's exactly how I describe it to kids who come to the free virtual mindfulness class that I offer every Wednesday at 5 o'clock, sponsored by Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shields of New Jersey. And kids really seem to understand that. It's paying attention to paying attention. And when we do that, when we really focus and bring awareness on where our focus is, on how we're feeling at a moment, perhaps why we're feeling that way, and then when we're able to let judgment go, not only of others, but most importantly of ourselves, we then provide ourselves the space to just be more curious about all the things that we can offer others, but also curiosity on the world and what else we can gain from the things around us. And more often than not, our world is go, 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 go. And I live in North Jersey, right outside New York City. So, really, we are always living a very fast paced lifestyle. And when we do that, we miss a lot of the things around us because we're not really focused on all the things around us. We're kind of have blinders on and we're focused on what we have to do, where we have to go, and how quickly can we get all those things done. So, when we have mindfulness at the forefront of our minds, we really do live much more intentionally because we're focused on what we want to accomplish. Even if what we want to accomplish is taking a break, for example, we really then get hyper focused on how we're going to take that break, when that will be, and enjoying ourselves in that very moment. And of course, this doesn't happen overnight. It's called a mindfulness practice for a reason. Sometimes we can slide into the groove much more easily, and other times we have a really hard time focusing. However, it's even having that awareness of, oh, geez, I'm really having a hard time today. That in and of itself is being mindful because you are consciously aware of what is happening. So there's no perfect way of doing it. You don't get an A plus or a gold sticker each and every time. It's just a practice that helps us in all aspects of our life once we make it an everyday practice. So, how did I get into mindfulness? I think I've shared with you before, after taking a graduate level course one time where the professor began every class with a guided meditation. And I was always like, lady, let's just get on with it so we can get out of here. It was a late evening class. But after really being exposed to that for the first time, I then noticed how much I longed for it. And then when I was carrying my 7-year-old child, not physically, but when I was pregnant with my 7-year-old, so 7 years ago, I got into prenatal yoga. And really, I got into it more for the physical sense. But then when I saw again how my body longed for that mindfulness while doing yoga, and again, it's not stilling the mind, it's just having more awareness and being more at peace with oneself. I then started getting into it much more regularly. I started to see that there were so many more benefits for my mental self than for my physical self at that time, being that I was pregnant. And as a parent, it's a game changer because I really don't fall into the comparison trap with other parents. I am focused on my kid's wins and am really focused on his levels, not how he compares to the levels of others. And I'm appreciating each and every moment with him as a parent because truly that's how fast they grow. And now he's no longer a baby. He's no longer a toddler. He's really thriving as this mini human that we've created. And it's because of all of that put together that I then created my other baby, my business called Free to Be Mindful. And it was established again 2 years ago today. And I wanted to share a little bit of that background because it kind of brings together the peace that mindfulness can bring into our lives, the awareness, and just the level of being okay and not always feeling like we're falling short of some kind of expectation, whether that expectation is something that others provide for us or the expectations that we also put on ourselves. And I thought, if I want to focus on catering to children and catering to mothers and catering to educators, I am taking all aspects of my life of being an educator and being a counselor and therapist and being a mother, putting all of them together. And I thought, everybody has the choice. Everyone has the ability. Everyone has the opportunity to be mindful whenever they'd like. Once they know how to practice it, once they understand the benefits, and once you understand that it's not about stilling your mind and it's not about meditating for 30 minutes. I mean, it can be, but it doesn't have to be. It's just about having more awareness on the everyday moments. Then you understand that in a world where you are free to be anything that you want to be, you are always free to be mindful. And that's how I came up with my business's name, which then leads into the podcast and the course and everything else that I have going on. So I hope that you can kind of pick up the enthusiasm that I have for Free to Be Mindful. I love everything that I do. I love having the opportunities to really impact not only kids in my private practice, but also kids in school as a school counselor and helping out teachers and parents as well. So with all of that being said, I would like to share 5 tips with you on how we can become more mindful and how we can live with just a little bit more of intentionality so that we can then practice mindfulness and reap the benefits that mindfulness can bring to us. So the first tip is to set priorities. Set priorities, let's say, for the week ahead of you. Set priorities for the day ahead of you. And when things come up that don't line with our priorities, we have to really ask ourselves, does this bring us joy? Does this bring me closer to my goals? And if it doesn't, that's where we have to learn how to set boundaries and how to move on. It's so easy to get caught up in the comparing yourself to the Joneses. It's so easy comparing your child to another child. It's really easy to start doing things always for other people and to forget ourselves. And that's why setting priorities is so important. The second tip I have for you is learn to be a little bit more like Elsa and let it go. And what is this it that we talk about? It can be mistakes. It can be bad hair days. It can be fights with the loved ones. It can be shoulda, woulda, couldas. We really need to learn how to focus on the here and the now. Because truly, friends, that is the only moment that we have is the here and now. We can't focus on the past because we cannot change the past. We can learn from the past, but we can't change it. And we also have to remember that tomorrow is not guaranteed. All we have is the right here and the right now. And if we're thinking about a mistake or a past relationship or something that we just wish we could change, we must learn to acknowledge it and then to let it go as it may no longer serve us in the current moments. The third tip I have for you is to prioritize yourself. We need to remember that we have to also please ourselves, and we have to remember to put ourselves in the number one slot and not everybody else. And of course, we don't want to be selfish. So we have to remember our loved ones and our children. But we have to remember that if we are not okay, we cannot serve others in whatever capacity. So we must remember to prioritize ourselves. We cannot say yes to everyone all the time. Because when we do, then we really say no to ourselves. And when we hear the term self-care, we usually think of massages or mani-pedis and things like that. And those are nice. Don't get me wrong. I love a good massage. However, we must also prioritize ourselves by exercising, by eating well, by learning how to set boundaries, and by learning how to give ourselves permission to set ourselves first. The fourth tip I have for you is to stop and breathe. We hear the phrase all the time, or at least we used to: stop and smell the roses, or stop and smell the coffee, or stop and smell whatever it is that does it for you. But stop for a moment, set timers throughout the day, and don't ignore the notifications when they come up on your watches or your phones. When I get my notification to breathe, it's so easy sometimes to just swipe up or to dismiss that notification on my watch. But at those moments when I don't do that, that's when I stop. I notice how I'm feeling physically and emotionally. I notice the beautiful things around me. And then I stop, I take a deep breath, and then I go right back to it. And friends, literally a minute or less than a minute. It's not this long winded or drawn out thing. But when we do that, we condition ourselves to do that when we're feeling okay, so that when we're not feeling okay, we have something that we can turn to instead of reacting or instead of exploding. We then know that we can turn to stopping, noticing the beautiful things around us, noticing how we feel physically and emotionally, and just taking a breath so that it makes it much easier to let things go. And the last tip number 5, is just to fill your life and live your life with gratitude in mind. At the end of each and every day, I always think of 5 to 10 things that I am grateful for. And I do the same practice with my son too. I ask him for 3 things that he's grateful for or happy for that day. And not the superficial, real things, of course, but the things that we think of all on Thanksgiving: a home, a job, our family, our loved ones. Yes, we're all grateful for those things, but really dig deep and think of even the small things that we're grateful for. Because again, when we condition ourselves to search for the positives in life, then the more positives we will find. So, my friends, it's with these 5 tips and other things that I've kept in mind why I've named my business Free to Be Mindful, and why I named the podcast the Free to Be Mindful podcast. Because again, in a world where we are free to be anything that we want to be, we are always free to be mindful. I hope that if I can serve you in any way, that you reach out to me via my website, freetobemindful.com, or on any of my social media platforms at Counselor V to Jesus. It is always my pleasure to spend some time with you. And I do hope that you are able to implement mindfulness in your everyday lives, beginning with right now. So right now, regardless of where you are or what you're doing, stop and notice the things that are happening around you. Try to bring awareness to at least 3 to 5 things that you find with beauty around the space that you're in. Perhaps it's the colors that you see. Perhaps the furniture or the cars that you see around you at this very moment in time. Perhaps it's a reflection in the mirror. Perhaps it's a scent in the air. Or perhaps it's a feeling around you. And after you've noticed this beauty in your space, I'd like for you to reflect upon yourself, how you're feeling at this very moment. Physically, are you cold? Are you warm? Is it hot by you today? And then emotionally, are you feeling at ease? Are you feeling a little bit of anxiousness? Are you feeling comfortable? Or are you feeling confused and upset? Just acknowledge that feeling. And as you inhale in, inhale peace. And as you exhale out, also exhale peace. not only for yourself and the way you're feeling right now, but for those people and things around you, that they may also feel peace at this very moment in time. Always my pleasure. Wishing you a great week. I hope you enjoyed this week's show. It would mean a ton if you took this moment to review the Free to Be Mindful podcast on the platform you catch your favorite shows. That quick and easy act lets me know what you enjoy, and it helps others find the podcast too. And of course, don't forget to subscribe so you can listen along next week. In the meantime, I welcome you to catch me on social media at Counselor V de Jesus. And as always, remember, in a world where you are free to be anything that you want to be, you are always free to be mindful. Catch you next week.